Welcome everybody, my name is Lida Liberopoulou and this is the first installment of my devlog about making a history game. Since there are not that many devlogs about making history games out there, I thought it might be interesting to go through the process of making one. So without further ado, let's begin. Why did you make this game? The game is part of an experiment I've been doing for quite a while now. The whole idea deals with whether it's possible to accurately reconstruct an archaeological site as it was in the past, make it a fully explorable, open, interactive world, and utilize video game techniques of storytelling to help people learn about its history. Of course, before making the game, I had to build the environment. To do that, in addition to the usual learning of how to build 3D models and set up an open game environment in Unity, I had to find out all the necessary information that would allow me to be as historically accurate as possible. As it turns out, there are a ton of resources out there. From JSTOR to online databases of academic institutions such as the American School of Classical Studies at Athens, there are a lot of places where you can find reconstructed architectural designs of ancient buildings and even visualizations of the reconstructed environments. I must admit that it's not that easy to filter out this stuff and get to the useful info, but I was able to create some decent models out of them. And when it comes to making available these reconstructions as open worlds, there are several social VR platforms out there that allow users to upload Unity scenes and make them available to multiple users. So I created a few prototypes in low poly form and set them up as Unity scenes and uploaded them on these platforms. The next step would be to prove that it's possible to design and implement an interesting and historically accurate interactive story game around them. What is this game? How does it work? And how can I play it? Since this is my first attempt at building a game, I decided to make it story/adventure/fetch quest thingy. The basic idea behind it is that it had to be short and simple and also based on an actual story that was related to the archaeological site where it was set. In this case, the Athens Acropolis. The player is an archaeologist who, while studying a small replica of the famous Athena gold and ivory statue that stood inside the Parthenon, is magically transported to the 5th century BC Acropolis. There, they discover that they have ended up in the middle of a famous incident where the great sculptor Phidias is being accused of stealing the gold of the statue of Athena. The player's job is to help Phidias demonstrate to his accusers that all the gold is in its proper place. From the various social VR platforms that are available, I chose to upload it on Spatial.io because it allows some limited interactive elements with the use of Unity visual scripting and also has an SDK that supports things like game quests. It's also a WebXR platform that allows the use of 2D browsers and also mobile, and in that way it's very easy to demo my game. People just have to click on a link and play the game on their browser or on their headset. What steps did you go through? What was challenging and what was easy? Well, the environments and the props were already there, so I first worked on writing the story and the dialogue. Although I'm familiar with writing in long form, it's mostly essays, so writing the story was a bit of a challenge for me. I had to make it entertaining, it had to be historically accurate, and also it had to contain world-building elements that would allow the player to understand the greater context of the story. Next was making the 3D models of the characters and adding animation rigging on them. Although I'm capable of making some decent low-poly buildings and props, unfortunately the human form is something that I'm not that good at designing. Still, I think I was able to make some 3D models that have a decent low poly stylized look and look human too. The problem was unfortunately the animation rigging, which was at best semi-successful. The models ended up having very limited movement on their legs and waist, but nevertheless, they were able to at least have some interesting poses when I tried them in Unity. The last part was setting up the individual scenes and coding the whole thing in visual scripting in Unity. The setting up the scenes was relatively easy, the visual scripting was not. Although I've done some coding in C# in Unity, unfortunately visual scripting has a slightly different logic and was a bit challenging for me. But I managed to do it with the help of my good friend Orchard Dweller. He does some really cool videos on coding. You should check them out. The rest was testing and tweaking the details. Any lessons learned? Would you do anything differently if you made another game like this? Yeah, a few things. Mainly the dialogue, and more specifically its length. I mean, it's pretty obvious when I say it now, but things that look entertaining on paper could end up being long-winded and distracting in-game. Especially the first iteration of the first scene went on and on and on to the point of becoming annoying for the player. So I had to go through all the dialogue and ended up cutting and adjusting a lot of stuff. There are also the issues I mentioned about the animations being limited to just basic still shots. But I think what I need to do in future iterations of this game is to add more interesting interactive elements related to the story. There are, of course, the limitations of the platform that doesn't allow really fancy stuff, but I think there's still room for more than what I managed to do here. So what's next for this game? I would say that this version is more of a easy to demo prototype than anything else. Hopefully, if I get enough feedback from it, I will be able to move to the next step, which is making a proper standalone executable version that has far more interactive elements and also an extensive storyline. There are also a lot of other improvements that need to be done, like more detailed 3D models and environments, utilizing things like textures and shaders, and also proper lighting, environmental and character animations, and other stuff like this. It is unlikely that at this stage this is going to get beyond stylized low poly, but obviously there's a lot of space for improvement here. So, if you find this project interesting, you can leave a comment and also please visit the game. The link is in the description and you will just need a browser and 5 or maybe 10 minutes of your time. I would really appreciate any feedback you can give me. It will help me make this better. Thank you for watching and ave atque vale.